Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So happy American Thanksgiving. And today's a rainy day in Vancouver and I'm going to a special cafe not too far from home. So I've been staying inside all weekend long, teaching and then resting. It's nice to get some fresh air now on a Monday on a coffee date with my mom at this, as you can see, is a heritage house, now turned into a cafe. So this house was built in 1873, 151 years old. And now let's check it out. This is my first time here. Yeah, so the inside is nice and rustic. There's a big picture over here showing the old photo of the house in the past and the cafe area there in the back. I like this bookshelf with the Christmas decorations. Here's my brand new sketchbook, another Fabriano Venezia sketchbook. And I just started the first couple pages. And now I'm on to this third page spread. I did a quick 5-minute pencil draft. Okay, so to make this interior sketch pretty interesting, I want to include both the foreground area and the background area, which is the cafe service area containing the counter, the lovely red wall, lamps hanging down from the ceiling, and of course this lovely clock right up there. So the foreground area is defined by this large shape over here and the shape of the staircase, the bookshelf, and of course the man here sitting in the very front. Yeah, and it's very important for this cafe interior to include people, otherwise it would look way too abstract without anybody in it. Now for the background area, first of all, yeah, this framing structure over here in the middle ground, I see the three-dimensionality of the room defined by these three lines. Line number 1, line number 2, line number 3. And apparently, yeah, there's a line number 4 over here. So I've got a ceiling area, a back wall, the red wall, and the floor area defined by these 4 lines. Okay, and all of these things like picture frames, back door, and clocks, they are floating on top of these areas. And after finishing my pencil draft, this wonderful lady just showed up ordering her food and drink by the counter, perfectly dressed up in a winter outfit. And I must include her in my sketch. So I just drew her hat, her face. She was actually wearing sunglasses on this rainy day. The hood of her jacket. And her arm reaching out to grab her cup of coffee. Her order came really, really quick. And the contour outline of her winter jacket. Her cup of coffee in her hand. And now I'm drawing this lovely, kind of like a snowflake pattern on her blue winter jacket. And then starting to draw her pants. The thigh area is always wider than the cuff. And then nice yellow boots. So it took me about 1.5 minutes to draw her. Now I want to include the man sitting right beside me as a foreground element. So I'm sketching in a pretty sneaky way, looking at him from the corner of my eyes, drawing his thermal cup first and his plate of sandwich and chips. Half of the table's outline. Now I'm ready to draw the man, starting with the cranium area, the eye socket, and the eyeball, the nose, the lips, and he has beard and mustache. Just like a pretty perfect profile view of the man. A bit of the shoulder, and the arm is pretty big in the front. He was actually swiping on his phone, but I didn't have space for his phone, so I made him holding on to his food. adding some wrinkles to suggest the 3D shapes of his arm and body. Now drawing his legs and adding the mustache for him, finishing the thickness suggestion of the tabletop and the legs of the table. So the table's legs are metallic bars. All right, and now I want to draw the chair on the other side of the table, starting with the seat and the bracket framing the back of the chair. Okay, so now I'm drawing this vertical edge of the foreground wall and this frame structure dividing the two rooms of the first floor and the smoke alarm that I just drew. Okay, so now I see a pretty large column structure here in the foreground behind the bookshelf. Now I want to go back to the upper left to draw this clock. Yeah, so the clock is one of the key features that I want to include in this sketch. And my sweater is matching the wall behind me. Wow, that's so cool. And continuing my seeing, observations, and drawing. Now I'm drawing this glass display shelf, the frame, and the layers inside. And the things inside the display shelf is actually hard to tell what they are. Probably like little ornaments. So I just kept my drawing in very simplified shapes. You know, if you can't see very clearly, just draw the silhouette shapes that you see. You don't have to make everything very clear. Okay, so now I'm ready to draw the things around the counter area. I see a little table over here with some holiday ornaments. Maybe tea boxes over there on the counter. Now I'm just drawing this barista over here interacting with the customer. And I'd always like to focus on the mood, the basic character of these people instead of capturing a photo likeliness, and adding some more lines for the counter, and then drawing the door behind her. I think there are also some shelves, this pastry shelf overlapped behind the display shelf. And now I'm drawing this little black carpet right underneath the lady and the bottom of the wall behind. Now I'm ready to attach these lamps hanging down from the ceiling, the lamp hoods, small details on the glass hoods. Yeah, and these lamps are really fun to draw and it helps you to show a little bit of sense of distance. And drawing the details for the door behind the barista, the back wall, and a picture, probably a painting of poppies hanging on the back wall by the door. And I just drew that slanting line going upwards to finish the roof shape for the room. Now I'm ready to draw the back door. And now I'm ready to draw this little red tree full of red flowers. Yeah, very bushy. And then the flower pot. So once you have a clean pencil blueprint, or sometimes if the interior is less complicated, I have a mental image inside my head. So what I'm doing right now is to start laying one little detail, one thing at a time on top of the blueprint. So now I am drawing these glass window panels very loosely on the back door and the carved pattern on the bottom, adding a bit of 3D for each panel. And accentuate on some of the lines, add a couple more, and then drawing this black carpet. So these carpets are rectangles, but when they're laying down on the floor, they're foreshortened into trapezoid shapes. And yeah, I just drew that exit sign and hanging up some of the lamps from the ceiling area there. And here is the box to dispense the paper towels, which is kind of cute on this column. And then drawing these miscellaneous items almost hidden by that column. And a garbage bin in the wickered basket here in the foreground. Finishing the column over here and a little table holding some local mini newspapers, suggesting the thickness of the column. And some loose details on the paper towel dispenser. There's a black and white photo hanging on the column up there. And now I'm having fun drawing the shape of the staircase and these railings showing that there is a second floor. And then coming back to the foreground area below to draw these tinsels hanging on top of this bookshelf, and some more black and white historic photos and the layers of the bookshelf. Now I'm drawing these books laid out on each layer of the bookshelf. These are tilting, and these are probably National Geographic's magazine on this layer. And the very back or the top of these books are shaded areas, so I'm using solid brown ink to add some weight for each cubicle. And then getting these decorated letters and this wreath, which is pretty cool, of evergreens and berries, all the shiny stuff, and a larger picture frame, finishing the railings of the staircase to the second floor. And then adding some accentuations and shading for the letters and the photo frames. A bit of details behind the table. This slanting horizontal line to show that panel dividing the two rooms. And this constantly spinning fan on the ceiling. Some more little lamps. And I spot another holiday decoration here on the side of the column, a bulletin board on that back wall. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Everything that I see that I found to be interesting in this interior. And now it's time to paint watercolors. So I've got my Mungyo watercolor palette with 24 half-pan watercolors in here. A towel, and I have 3 water brushes to work with. Now, as usual, I'm going to wet the whole paper area with clear water and start punching on this warm and cozy diluted yellow ochre. Because most indoor lights, they have a really soft, mellow yellow glow being reflected onto the ceiling and the walls and the floors. So yeah, everything contains a stain of lamp yellow. So that's kind of like the underpainting. Let it dry for a bit. Now I'm grabbing some orange, mix it with permanent red, and starting to paint the first layer of the back wall. So this part of the painting process is pretty interesting. As you can see, I'm painting in an unstable way. I'm going back to my palette to grab more or less orange, mix it into the permanent red. The areas of the wall receiving more lamplight could be looking more orange-red, and the other parts receiving less light could be looking more like regular or even darker red. And I'm going to shape the red wall a little later when the first layer is drier. Now I'm painting a very similar red-brown for the counter by mixing burnt sienna with permanent red. And then quickly shade it with a darker brown tone. Now I'm starting to paint everything else that I see in the room that is in the red color. For example, this plant by the door, using permanent red, permanent rose, and these little berries on the wreath. Okay, now I think I want to paint the 2 black carpets by mixing my own black, using cobalt blue, permanent violet, and a bit of leftover green. Now, second layer for the red wall. I just mix a bit of cobalt blue into permanent red. And now I'm doing wet on dry. The first layer, I believe, is pretty much dried. And gently adding the shade around the door frame and on the lower part of the wall. And yeah, just following my observation to see which part is really more shaded. Okay, so now I'm grabbing some yellow, orange, mix it with leftover red, diluted with a lot of water to paint these people's skin colors. Grabbing some cadmium yellow to illuminate the light bulbs. Okay, and then using cerulean blue to paint this lady's jacket, which is pretty unique. And I'm feeling very lucky that she showed up right in time for the beginning of my sketch. And I think she was wearing jeans, so leftover cobalt blue for the jeans. I think her hat was yellow. Her boots were like yellow leather. And the view outside is actually split into the views from these glass panels. I see green bushes and also a brown fence. So I'm just grabbing some leftover Viridian green and lime green to paint these little spots. I'm also using Viridian green, mix it with a little bit of burnt sienna for the evergreen wreaths and these tinsels. Yeah, so to save time, I'm spotting every little area that has this evergreen color and just paint them in. Now I'm just grabbing some leftover gray to paint these gray spots on the flower pot or the rubbish bin, using leftover red-orange to paint the wooden railing of the staircase. And then keep using the leftover red-brown to paint the fence outside. Shade the white door with a bit of leftover bluish gray. And the grays in the world could show up in many different levels of tones. And I'm going to keep using this gray to shade the face of the clock. And mixing a bit of green into that leftover gray to paint this, the color of this wall, which is painted in a greenish gray color. And that higher area is getting more lamplight, so I just left it out under painting yellow. Didn't paint it green. And now I'm starting to paint the floorboard using yellow ochre and burnt sienna mix. And the back wall is also kind of a greenish gray, shaded with like a bluish gray. Yeah, and adding a tiny bit of retouches of shining yellow. Now, for this piece of foreground wall, I wanted to make it more shaded than the ceiling and the back wall. Yeah, because this area, it's not as bright. And I want this framing area to look a little bit darker, so it's more powerful as a frame. And as you can see, I created like a simple value gradient for that framing wall there in the foreground. So it's not just a solid gray, there's life in it. And adding some retouches of red and pink for the picture hanging on the back wall. And tea boxes and other holiday ornaments around the counter area. And yeah, just adding these little bits of colors here and there, as well as shading that I think should be a little bit stronger, like the shadow of the door frame landing on the black carpet's edge. And then using leftover blue-violet kind of gray to paint the staircase area. So the entrance to the second level is closed now and the lights are shut. And grabbing some leftover gray to shade the bottom half of the wall a little bit heavier. And some more very gentle shading for the ceiling there. I don't want to make the ceiling way too dark there, my main part of the sketch. Okay, and now it's time to paint these ornaments, the books on the shelf using red and then blue and purple, just the leftover colors on my palette. And now I want to paint the wooden texture for the floorboard. So this is like a mix of burnt sienna with a little bit of magenta, using my medium tip water brush, just the tip. And then painting the Wickers basket there in the front. Some more miscellaneous items colors in the foreground, including the table. And then painting the outfit of the man here in the foreground using blue and violet tones. I think he was wearing black and gray. And also giving him a bit of red-brown cheeks. Some more final polish on those books. And yeah, painting in these shadows a little bit stronger. And that's very much it. My 2-hour stay at the cafe, sipping a cup of chai latte, and creating this sketch. And their patio area must be really nice to sit during the spring and summer times. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. Again, happy Thanksgiving. Have a great weekend. See you next time. Bye.